Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making a filet crochet top. I'm really excited to do this tutorial. This top was made to be an open back lace up top with a scalloped border and a beautiful angel filet grid, which you will need to complete this project. I have two versions of the grid. One features a halo and the other does not. You can use either grid to make this project, and both can be found on my Etsy shop. This tutorial is free, but the grids do have a small cost to them, which helps me to be able to spend more time making tutorials as such for you all. Links will be listed down in the description below. And lastly, before jumping into making this top, if you're new to filet crochet, I suggest you take a look at the video below, which explains all of the basics you need to know before tackling a project as such. But let's waste no time and get into this tutorial. To make this top, you're going to want to have at least 3 skeins of yarn, and that is if you wear a size small. Now I did decide to double my strands, so I ended up using about 6 skeins of yarn in total. Please be mindful that you will need more yarn if you wear larger than a size extra small to complete this project. You're also going to want to have a 2.7mm crochet hook, a darning needle, a pair of scissors, 2 stitch markers, and a rocking playlist. As usual, this tutorial won't have any background music, so you can play your favorite songs as you work on this project. I don't know about you, but I love to crochet with a good movie or a song playing in the background. Don't worry, you will hear my lovely voice, just no background music. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Now let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. Okay, so I'm starting off with a chain long enough to fit or wrap around my neck, which I have 78 chains. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count 5 of these chains and then double crochet into the 6th. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double crochet into the 6th. And then this whole first row is just going to be our regular mesh stitch. So you're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, double crochet into the stitch that follows. One more time, you'll chain 1, skip the next stitch, and double crochet into the stitch that follows. So you're going to repeat this all the way down the length of your chain, and I'll meet you guys and show you what we do from there. Okay, so I just made it to the end of my row and I went back and counted. I have 37 of these mesh boxes. By the time we get into our, into the depth, I should say, of our little grid, we're going to need to have 49 of these mesh boxes at minimum. So we will be doing increases, but before we even get there, we need to do 3 more rows of just this regular mesh pattern. So going into your next row, you're going to start off with a chain of 4. You're going to turn your work, skip the chain 1 space, and then work your double crochet into the following stitch. Then you're going to chain 1, skip the chain 1 stitch, and then go ahead and work your double crochet into the stitch that follows. And you're just going to keep repeating this until you have 4 rows of this mesh. So I will meet you guys after I have my 4 rows done. Okay, so I've completed my 4 rows and we're getting ready to go into our first increasing row. So you're going to chain 4 and turn your work. And now we're going to do an increase into this very first double crochet stitch here on our end. So yarn over, go into that very first stitch and work your first double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, and work your double crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat this 4 more times because we want to have 4 of these mesh boxes. That is not including this very first one that we did here. That's our increase. So that's 1, 2, that's 3, that is 4, I have one more, and 5. So now you should technically have 6 double crochets, 5 here, and then the one on the very end, which was your increase. And now what you are going to do is we're going to do 2 increases into this 5th chain, or to this 5th double crochet stitch here. So chain 1, and then yarn over and work another double crochet into that same stitch. Then you're going to chain another one and work one more double crochet into that same stitch. Then we are going to go ahead and we're going to do 7 double crochets like normal. So chain 1, move over to the next stitch and work your first double crochet. Chain 1, work another double crochet. Okay, so those are our first 2 double crochets of the 27 that we need. So keep going until you have 27 double crochets. So I just did my 27 double crochet mesh boxes, and now what we're going to do is our next increase like we have right here. So you're going to chain 1, and in the same stitch that we just finished off our last double crochet, you're going to go ahead and work another double crochet. So that's our first increase. Then you're going to chain 1 again and do 1 more double crochet into that same stitch. And then you're going to go ahead and do your regular mesh pattern till the end. So you'll chain 1, skip the chain 1 space and work 1 double crochet into the next double crochet stitch, chain 1, and repeat all the way until the end. Okay, I'm at my last stitch, so I'm going ahead and I'm working my double crochet into that corner chain space. And how we did an increase in the very first stitch, we have to do an increase in the very last. So you'll chain 1 and then work 1 more double crochet into that very last stitch there. Well, the very next row we're going to do is basically going to be the same as the row we just did. So we're going to start off with a chain of 4. You're going to turn your work. We're going to do an increase in this very first stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to work our 1 double crochet regular mesh pattern until we get to this middle chain, or not middle chain, this middle double crochet in this little set of 3 double crochets that we have for, I don't know, whatever you want to call this increase. So you're going to chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, work your next double crochet into the following stitch, all the way until we get to this center stitch right here. Okay, so I made it to this center increase stitch right here, and I have 8 mesh boxes. That is including this increase that we did in our very first stitch. And now we are at the point where we're going to do our next round of increases. So chain 1, work 1 double crochet into the same stitch that we just ended off in. Chain 1, work 1 more double crochet into that same stitch. And then you're going to go ahead and continue with your regular mesh until we reach the other side where we have these like 3 double crochets into this 1 stitch. And the center of these 3 double crochets is where we're going to do our next increase. So go ahead and work your mesh pattern as usual until we reach that point. Okay, I made my way to my next increase. I haven't done it yet, but I just went back and counted these mesh boxes that I've created, and I have 29. So once you make it to your 29th double crochet little mesh box, here you can see I'm in the center double crochet of my 3 increases in this stitch, and I'm going to do my next round of 3 increases, or I should say of 3 double crochets. It's technically 2 increases, but I'm going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet in there to make another increase, and then chain 1 again and work 1 more double crochet into that same stitch 1 more time. So now I have 3 double crochets in this one singular stitch, and then I'm going to go back to my regular mesh pattern until I reach the end of this row. Okay, I just worked my last double crochet of this row, but as you can see, we started off with an increase, so we need to end off with an increase to keep this symmetrical. So I'm going to chain 1 and do an increase in that very last double crochet stitch that I have. Okay, so I made it to the end of my row, and now we are going to do 9 more rows with the type of increases that we did. So you're going to start off with an increase in the very first stitch. Then when you get to the center point of your little 3 double crochets here, you're going to do your next round of increases, which you're going to do or have 3 double crochets in this point. Then you'll work the mesh as normal. Then once again, when you get to the other side and you get to the center double crochet of these 3 double crochets in this stitch here, you'll do your next round of increases. So you want to have 3 double crochets into that one stitch, all separated by chain 1. Then go ahead and work your mesh as normal, and then you'll do just 1 increase when you get to the other end. And you're going to repeat that until you have done 9 more additional rows. So I'm going to do those, and then I'll meet up with you guys at that point. Okay, so this is what my work looks like. After having done the 9 additional rows, I now have 15 rows in total from the very first row we started at all the way to where we are now. And next I'm going to show you guys how you make the armhole. So what you're going to do, you'll already be in one corner, so you can just stay there. But I'm going to have to reconnect my yarn into the other corner to show you this example. Now in order to make our armhole, we're going to do a half double crochet foundation chain. So I like to start off with a chain of 1 just to make this a little bit looser. And then I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go into the same stitch that I just reattached my yarn into, which for you will just be the very first stitch of your row, and you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of your loops. Then you're going to yarn over again, and this might be kind of hard to see, but there is like a little V that was kind of created here. It'll get more pronounced as we continue on with this. But you yarn over, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to grab the first side of the V here, and then looking at the other side, you see there's another, oops, let me move this. You see there's another side to it that you can kind of reach over and grab as well. Oops, let me redo that. So the front side, and I'll grab the back side. So now I have, I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but I have my 2 sides of my V here. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Once again, I'll have 3 loops on my hook, and then yarn over again and pull through all 3. One more time, yarn over, turn your work so you can kind of see what you're picking up. So you pick up the 1 stitch on the one side, and then there's like another little side to this that you're going to pick up right there. Then you can yarn over and pull up a loop. Once again, you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. It may be a little difficult for you to see the 2 sides of your V-stitches when doing this, but just take your time, work at it a little bit, and you just want to go ahead and continue this until it's long enough to wrap up under your arm. So this is what it'll look like, and then I'll show you how you can reconnect it to your work. But you're just going to make a long half double crochet foundation chain, however long you need it to be to reach up and wrap around your armhole. So for me, I believe I did 35 on this side, so I'm going to do 35 on this side. It might not be the same number for you. You can do however many you need. Just make sure you can wrap it around your arm comfortably, and then I'll meet you guys at the end and show you how you'll connect it. Okay, so I made my chain of 35 and this fits comfortably under my arm. So now I'm going to reconnect it to this center point here. So where we did our little 3 double crochets into that 1 stitch, we're going to slip stitch into the top of this stitch here, which belongs to that middle double crochet, or I should say that second double crochet. So make sure that your little chain isn't twisted or anything, and you're gonna go over and stick your hook into the top of that center double crochet, and you're going to do a slip stitch. Then from there you can chain 1, cut your yarn, and then reattach it into the other corner, which would be up here at this point, and repeat the same thing to make your second armhole. Okay, so I have my 2 armholes done, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on one of my armholes, it doesn't matter which, but you're going to count 10 stitches over into or towards your armhole, or into your armhole. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this is my 10th. I'm going to go ahead and stick my hook in there, and that's going to be the point where I reattach my yarn. Once your yarn is reattached into the 10th stitch in towards or in your armhole, you're going to go ahead and chain 4. And we are going to basically continue on with our regular mesh pattern. So we've chained 4, we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the stitch that follows. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, double crochet into the stitch that follows. Chain 1, repeat up until you get to this corner. So skip the next stitch, double crochet into the stitch that follows. And as you can see, I'm at my middle point. So I did this double crochet, I have 1 stitch here, and then I have where I connected my yarn. So I chained 1, I'm skipping this last stitch in the armhole, and I'm going to reconnect, or I should say I'm going to double crochet into the center of these little 3 double crochets, our little increases here. That's where I'm going to do my next double crochet. Now as we get ready to move into the main front portion of our panel, this is where we're going to now introduce our filet chart. From here to here, I have 49 stitches or 49 boxes, and that is the same amount of boxes that I have on my chart. So now I'm going to go ahead and start introducing my chart, and I'll do the first 2 rows with you guys, and then I'll let you just work up the rest on your own, because it'll be pretty straightforward from there. But as we can see, this very first row is nothing but open mesh boxes. So this is going to make our very first row very easy. So all I'm going to do is chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, double crochet into the stitch that follows. So nothing is changing, I'm just continuing my mesh pattern as usual. So one thing I recommend you doing before you get too far into your row or your rows is go ahead and take a stitch marker and put it on that very first stitch of like you starting the base or the front part of your panel. So I'm going to put that there. So that sits right where we started our, connection of the armhole. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 open mesh boxes, and then the 6th is where you're going to put that stitch marker. What that's going to do is it's going to help you to remember to not start your filet crochet chart from this first mesh box here, but you're going to start it from this one here. So it'll just, I don't know, it'll hold you accountable and keep everything like fresh in your mind, like where you're supposed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with my mesh pattern, and then I'll show you guys just how we're gonna go on into the second side of our armhole from here once I get to this, this little corner space here. So I've made it to the point where I'm getting ready to start working into my second armhole, and I have one more mesh box that I have to make, and this is going to go into this center point here and this double crochet, which connected the front panel and the armhole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to put it on that stitch there. So now I have a stitch marker on the first and last mesh box of my filet crochet pattern, which is actually supposed to be upside down. But I have one on the first and the 49th stitch here and here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make 5 more mesh boxes going into the armhole. So chain 1, skip this very first stitch, double crochet into the second, chain 1, skip the next stitch, double crochet into the one after that. Okay, so that's 2 mesh boxes. We need to make 3 more. Okay, so now I have 5 mesh boxes on this side. I have my 49 mesh boxes in the center, which is the front part of my panel. And then I have my other 5 mesh boxes on the other end. And that also was the very first row of my chart here, which I'm looking at it upside down because I'm working from the top down. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line through the very first row so I know that that is done. Okay. Now I'm going to put a little arrow here to help me along the way, pointing in the direction of which way I'm working my panel for, we'll consider this row 2 since we're working now on the filet chart. So for row 2. From here on out, every row that you do, you will start off with 5 open mesh boxes. Then you work your filet crochet chart in the center rows. And then once you get back to your stitch marker, you end off with 5 more open mesh boxes. And you're just going to work that for the entire length of the filet crochet chart. So let's just do row 2 together real quick. So before I even need to worry about the chart, I'm going to chain 4, turn my work. I'm going to work my 5 regular mesh boxes up to the stitch marker. Okay, so my 5 mesh boxes are done and I've reached my stitch marker, which means I'm now at the point where I need to start reading my filet crochet chart. And I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm gonna put that, I'm just writing a little number 16 there just to make it easier for myself to remember. But I'm going to be doing 16 open mesh boxes before I get to my first filled box. So from here, I'm just going to continue on with the open mesh boxes for 16 boxes. Okay, so I just made my 16th mesh box from my stitch marker to this point. And then I see my very next two boxes are a closed box. So how we're going to do that is I yarn over, I go into that chain 1 stitch and I pull up a loop. Then I yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Then I yarn over again, go back into that chain 1 stitch and pull up a loop. Then I yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You'll have 3 loops left on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through the remaining 3. And that is how I make my filled boxes. Then I'm going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And then I can go ahead and do my second filled box. I'm yarning over, going into the chain 1 space, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over again, going back into the same chain 1 stitch, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, then yarning over and pulling through my remaining 3. And then looking at my chart, the rest of my boxes are all open, and I mean, I have nothing different that I'll be doing from there to the end at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet into the very next stitch. And then I will continue my mesh boxes as usual. So I'll chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, work 1 double crochet into the stitch that follows. And I'm going to repeat this all the way until I reach the end of this row. Okay, so I finished the end of that second row of our filet chart, and I've started working into my third row. So I'm just going to continue working on my filet chart. Once again, make sure that your charts are upside down. We're working from top to bottom here. And I will catch back up with you guys once we have made it all the way to the end of our filet chart. Okay, so I finished working down the length of the body of my top. And next we're going to go into working on the neckline. So I did one side to show you guys what it will end up looking like. So basically we're going to make a long chain of the mesh stitch just as normal to give us something that we can use to tie around our neck to secure the top half of our top. And then after we do that, we're going to start working on making the little shell hemline around our top. So starting off with the strap for our neck, you're going to reattach your yarn into the top corner of one of your ends, it doesn't matter which, and then you're going to chain 4. And we're going to be working into the sides of these double crochets here. So after you chain 4, you're going to work your next double crochet into the side of this stitch right here. Then chain 1, move down 1, work your next double crochet into the side of this next point here. Chain 1, move down to the next row, work your next double crochet into this point here. Chain 1, and then we're going to do one more time. We want to have 4 of these mesh boxes in total. And we're going to work our last double crochet into this point right here. And now this is going to allow us to build up the length of this strap out this way. So everything from here on out is going to be exactly the same as what we've been doing for our regular mesh stitch. We're going to start off with a chain of 4. We're going to turn our work. And then we're just going to work our mesh across this way as usual. So I'm working 1 double crochet into each of these stitches over top of the previous row's double crochet, all separated by a chain 1. And that is how we are going to build up the length of the strap that we're going to use to tie our neckline. And I did 76 of these rows in total. You can make this strap as long or as short as you want. just make sure that you do end up with something long enough that you'll be able to take the two ends and tie them together to secure your top. So I did 76 in total on the other side, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on 76 on this side, and I will catch up with you guys once that is done. Okay, 76 rows later, and I am now done both of the ties that go around my neck. Next up, I'm going to show you guys how I did my little lettuce or scalloped hem here. And I'm going to show you on my second armhole here, but we will be also using this little lettuce design to go around the neckline as well as the overall like portion or base of your top. Okay, so for this next part, I'm going to start off in this little corner right here. So I have my work turned sideways, so this is the arm or shoulder portion that'll go over your shoulders, and then these are the 5 little rows that come down along the side of our top. And I'm just going to reconnect my yarn right in this corner point here. Now that my yarn is attached in this point, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet into the same stitch. Okay. Then I'm going to skip the very next stitch, which is right here. Oops, which let me see if I can bring it closer. So my next stitch is right here, and then I'm going to put 7 double crochets into this next little chain space here. So I now have my 7 double crochets done. I'm going to skip the next box, and then in the one that follows, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. After that, I'm going to skip the next box, and then in the box after that, I'm going to do 7 double crochets. Now that those 7 are done, I'm just going to continue on and repeat that pattern until I get to this last stitch over here. Okay, so I just finished doing that row, and I have 7 of my double crochet clusters, and we are basically going to do this, but now we're going to do it along the main like body or perimeter of our top. So it doesn't matter which side you start on, you're just gonna go ahead and do the same thing we did. So start off in one corner, probably over here by your where your underarm will be, and start off with a single crochet into the very first box, then skip the next, and in the one that follows put 7 double crochets, then skip the next box, and then do 1 single crochet in the box after that. And you're going to do that all the way around the length of your top. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll catch up with you guys once that is done. Okay, so I went ahead and I did my little scalloped edge all the way around the perimeter of my top, and I finished off right here in this corner up by the other side of my armhole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn. Now we have one more spot where we have to do this little scalloped edge, and that is right along the neckline. Now we are not going to take this all the way down the length of the ties. We're just going to focus on this center portion here. So right here where we added on our yarn to make the straps is where we're going to start, and we're going to work it straight across until we get to the second side where we once again reattached our yarn to make the remaining part of the other side of the strap. So just from here to here, so it doesn't matter which side you start off on, just reconnect your yarn in the same point where you cut off your yarn to make your, or to start your straps, and then just go ahead and work that scallop to the other point. And then I will meet up with you guys after that is done. Okay, so I just finished the scalloped edge there, and at this point you're going to want to try on your top, and what you're going to do is you're going to take your stitch markers and you're going to find where the top naturally falls, like right under your bust line, and you're going to put your stitch markers on those stitches at the sides, And those are going to be the points where we're going to start making our side ties that are going to wrap around our back. So once you have your stitch markers in place, you can go ahead and start on one of your sides. So I'm going to reconnect my yarn into this point right here. Once your yarn is reconnected in that point, you'll start off with a chain of 3. After you've done your chain of 3, you're going to work 2 more double crochets into that space that you're starting from. After you have 3 double crochets, you're going to go into starting your next row. So you'll start off with a chain of 3, which is our first double crochet. You can turn your work, and then not in the very first stitch you have, we're going to skip that one because that one belongs to this chain 3 that we have here. So in the second stitch, you're going to go ahead and work your second double crochet. Then you're going to work your third double crochet into the top of your chain 3. And then once again, you will chain another 3. You will turn your work, and you will continue on with what we just did for the previous row. And you're going to make this however long you want it to be. I will say you do want to make sure that it's long enough for you to crisscross and tie around your back. So I'm going to do this first on this side, and then once I figure out how long I need it to be for me, I will check in with you guys and let you know to give you an idea for yourselves. Okay, so I finished the straps and I ended up making 116 rows for one side, and then I just repeated it on the other. And then I went back and forth and I laced it through the bottom half of my top. And that is how you're going to secure your top. So now all that's left to do is just go back and take a look at your project for all of the places where we've connected and cut off our yarn, and you're just going to weave in those tail ends. And then after that, your top is all done and ready to wear. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If so, make sure to give this video a thumbs up as well as subscribe if you would like to see more filet crochet tutorials. And I hope you guys have a great day. Happy crocheting. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye guys.